Are the fuels that you have stored going to be viable and perform well when disaster strikes? Hi, I'm Kylene.
And I'm Jonathan, and we are the Provident Preppers.
In this video, we are going to discuss the expected storage life of some emergency preparedness fuels and help you sort out which options might be the best for you and your family.
Do you know what to expect from the fuels that you have stored? What is their true life expectancy? This video is based on the post that you see on the banner below, the Provident Prepper Expected Storage Life for Emergency Fuels.
There are two main considerations when you're thinking about which store is really the best fuel for you to store for emergencies. The first criteria that you need to consider is, will it meet your need? What is the need? Are you going to operate a generator? Are you cooking food? What is the need that you need met? And then the next option is, what fuel has the longest shelf life that will still meet your need? Fuels with a shorter shelf life need to be rotated through or replaced. It's more expensive and it's more cumbersome.
And of course, it goes without saying that safety is a critical part of this as well. And we talk about that in some of our other posts and videos that we'll refer you to later.
Alcohol is probably my very favorite storage fuel, and the biggest reason why is because it has an indefinite shelf life. As far as safety and storage, it's one of the safer fuels to store. It has a very low flash point, so it's very easy to catch on fire. One of the things that I like about alcohol is that pure forms of alcohol do not smell when they're burned, and so you don't have those toxins that are in the air. Indefinite shelf life, can be safely burned indoors. It is a great storage fuel.
And these are great for heating and cooking. Obviously, you're not probably going to use these to run a generator or something else. For heating and cooking, these are great.
Butane in and of itself has an unlimited shelf life. It will store indefinitely. The thing that limits butane cartridges is the actual cartridge or the can that it is stored in, because those cans will rust and degrade. The valves will wear down over time and can leak the butane. It is not the butane that has a shelf life, but it is the cartridge itself. And we look at about an 8-year shelf life depending on how those are stored.
Charcoal is an excellent fuel. Obviously, this is to be only used outside, but it has an indefinite shelf life. Now, sometimes if charcoal is left in a bag or someplace where it can absorb moisture, it will do that. One of the things that you can do if that happens is you can lay it out on a nice hot sunny day. Just put it out on your driveway or somewhere, and that moisture will come back out and make the fuel viable again. Coleman fuel is an excellent fuel for the Coleman lanterns and the Coleman stoves. Coleman fuel has about a 5 to 7 year shelf life as long as it's unopened. If it's opened, that drops to about 2 years.
It's really important to remember that you should not burn Coleman fuel indoors. It produces a large amount of carbon monoxide, so do not bring a Coleman stove into your home to cook during an emergency. This is an outdoor fuel.
Diesel is also an excellent fuel if you've got a diesel vehicle or if you have a diesel generator. It stores for 18 to 24 months as long as it is stored in a reasonably good environment, not too hot. But you can also extend that with stabilizers.
Yeah, and the thing about diesel is the warmer the environment it's stored in, the shorter its life expectancy.
Firewood is probably our favorite as far as heating and cooking in our home. Obviously not something we want to use during the summertime, but in the winter it's an amazing fuel for us to heat our home and to cook with.
And it stores indefinitely, so you can go ahead and store your firewood out in your yard, get a nice good stash of it, cover it, and not worry about it. These little fuel tablets are very interesting. They have an indefinite shelf life, so they can store for a very long time. Of course, you can only use them outdoors, but they also make a really good fire starter, and sometimes that could be a very valuable asset.
Gasoline is something that we're all very familiar with. It has about a 6 to 9 month shelf life, but this can be extended with stabilizers.
So if I were going to extend it for a long period of time in my storage, how would I do that, John?
A good fuel stabilizer could be added every 9 months to 1 year. You probably don't want to just do that indefinitely. To the extent possible, you want to try and rotate that on a fairly regular basis.
Kerosene has a 5-year shelf life. One of the reasons why kerosene is a good storage fuel is because it has a long shelf life. It will store for 5 years, and that life can be extended with fuel stabilizers. It does produce carbon monoxide when it burns, so make sure that you are very careful when you use this.
Propane is also just an excellent fuel for a lot of different things, and it does have an indefinite shelf life, but again, the canisters don't have. These small 1-pound canisters do have a tendency over time for the seals to degrade and for some leakage to occur. So these need to be rotated on a fairly regular basis, but it is an excellent fuel. One reminder on this, it is heavier than air, so if you use this in a place where that leakage could pool, possibly can create an explosive hazard.
One great way to store fuel for an emergency is to store propane in the larger tanks.
These have a much longer shelf life and will do a really, really good job of storing bulk propane.
Propane is an outstanding emergency preparedness fuel. Now, wood pellets have an indefinite shelf life. They are just compressed sawdust. So they're a great fuel to store. The problem with the pellets is in order to use them in a pellet stove, you need to have power to run the auger that feeds them into that pellet stove. So if this is a fuel that you have planned on using for a power outage, make sure that you have an alternative way to feed that hopper with the pellets.
Here are some resources we hope that you will look at. The Provident Prepper, where can I safely store popular fuels for emergencies? Also, how to store fuels safely for emergencies. And then again, the post that this video was based off of, expected storage life for emergency fuels. And these are also in the show notes. As you have seen, there are several fuels that have indefinite shelf lives that would be good options for you. We encourage you to devise a plan for you and your family so that you have energy when the electricity and or natural gas are gone. And now for the questions of the day. What is the status of your emergency fuel storage? Do you have fuels that need to be rotated or disposed of? And what is your plan for taking care of your family? Comment below. And thanks for being part of the solution.